Hello everyone, welcome to another video, welcome to another recording of your lovely host. It is I, Leonard. Yes, I am here on another episode of Songs and Sorcery. And I thought it was only appropriate for me to start off with a nice little tune that I made up for myself. And it's a tune I play for the dead. But it's one that I think a lot of people would probably like and appreciate. Now, I am in the works of developing perhaps a very brilliant project, one that I myself am quite excited for. But honestly, though, I thought, you know what? Let me do something a bit different today. As you can tell by my look, I look absolutely ravishing, don't I? Oh my god! How have I not done this before? But I absolutely love it. And is it because I forgot a few things? Probably. I can't find my other mask. I don't know where it went either. Apparently, I needed a vacation. So, unbelievable. I feel like I'm being, what's the proper term? There's like revolt or something happening. It's mutiny. It's honestly mutiny. It's what it is. And so I, honestly though, I'm for it. I'm all for freedom. Trust me. I absolutely am. And although I do apologize, you perhaps can't notice my eyes as much because I'm in this sort of get-up here. But honestly, I mean, I like it. I like it. It's really good. It's very me. It's very niche, and it's something that I'm honestly rather proud of. So, over the course since the last video, I have been traveling the countryscape looking for children. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No. I've been looking for. No, I'm joking. No, I decided, look, I need to break from the portals. I need to go out and be amongst my people, to be out amongst whatever airs, whatever nature is out there. So I, believe it or not, decided to take a trip to Utah. And I know, absolutely disgusting, but I decided to go there because the place needed some sun, and I brought it. No, but it was a lovely place. The mountains were absolutely beautiful. The skies were rather nice as well, rather spectacular. The people, believe it or not, were rather really nice and accommodating, and I really do appreciate that. I went there, with an open mind, an open heart, an open eyes, because I was excited to be in a new place. And honestly, it was a place that I desperately needed, a place that I absolutely was looking for a very long time. Why? Because there were some very special individuals I met there. I've been following them for quite some time. Also practitioners, people that are very seasoned, people that are very experienced with an immense amount of knowledge. Anything that can help me in my journey through this realm's version of this sort of thing would help immensely. So I decided to go there in person, bring gifts as well as everything else. I'll probably put a picture about what I posted here as a special gift. Now, I was going to use this thing as a small intro, perhaps to an interview I did with them. And of course, I've also partook in the rituals as well, which was fantastic, absolutely phenomenal, beautiful thing with beautiful people. And I honestly am very grateful to them. Now, they are the owners of a shop in Taylorsville, Utah, known as Cat and Cauldron. They have their own podcast known as Salty Witches Podcast. I urge all of you to take a gander, to pour your ears over in that direction. They own it on Spotify, but they also recently started uploading them to YouTube, which I believe was a brilliant move on their part because people would love a sort of visual interaction. Now, the amount of videos they have, I think, video I'm talking about isn't as extensive as their collection on Spotify, but they have seasons, they have episodes, and each one is about an hour long. So you get a whole hour of juicy content and information that is crucial to many people of, different walks of life that seek to further the craft and their understanding about the crafts and their understandings of other crafts as well, because they are very open. They accommodate a lot of different sort of things. They're not eclectic by their own, standards. They are very in the way of, traditional Italian folk craft, but they are aware of many other crafts as well. And they try to, approach things in a very, logistic level. They don't just go into things very fancy. And I appreciate their logic, their reasoning as well, and their understanding behind these certain issues. When I did do the interview, perhaps I had to adopt a certain persona just to make me, because I was in the person, look, this obviously is not, I mean, this is an aspect of me. But the me that I put out there for others to see is a slightly different personality. It's definitely it's a different persona, and so it is one that I put out there to sort of bridge this gap. It's a little bit more vulnerable, but I trusted them. And they honestly were very pleased by the gift that I brought. And they were very kind to offer me not only a 3-hour interview, but some gifts and things that I can use for my own setup as well when I'm doing my own certain workings. The place in which I am in is still a bit, temperamental, but I have to find certain ways to get around that. But I know I've rambled on a long time. So please stay tuned for that interview. I'm going to make it a 3-part series. It's 3 hours of juicy information, of interrogation. And no, it's a brilliant interview, I think. I came across, very humble as I was, gave certain questions that I believe were important for many people to sort of, get their perspectives on and their answers for. And it's one that I think a lot of people probably had questions about. And I hope that a lot of those questions were answered when it came to that interview. So, not only am I here, but as well as my co-host, Grimmy. Hello, Grimmy, how are you? Yes, you have a topic for today. Splendid. I thought we were going to talk forever. Yes? Interesting. Didn't we ever talk about that? Not in, I think, depth. You want us to go deeper. Yeah? Okay. It's an interesting perspective, Grimmy. I'll definitely take your word for it. You think it'd be a good subject for today? Yes. Okay, I trust you, Grimmy. Have a good one. All right, so on today's episode of Songs and Sorcery. I'm sorry. Songs and Sorcery. Oh, I love it. Yes, I will actually probably sing for you probably later on. I get very nervous singing. I like doing it. Instruments, I get nervous as well, but not as much. But I do have that little tune I played for you. It's a rather appropriate intro to this podcast / episode. Sorry. If you love the hat, give me a like. I absolutely adore it. I did put the crown on top because honestly, why not? So, all right. So per Grimmy's request, for what Grimmy suggested, I'm going to talk about applications with mundane tools. I think the proper title would be From the Mundane to the Magical, or perhaps Mundane Tools for Magical Use. Because I think if that's a proper title, I'll come up with something better. Trust me, I love puns. I think it's important for a lot of people that are, starting their journey as I did, as I'm currently doing, because we are seekers at the end of the day. We are seeking a way forward, whether it is a path or a truth. That a lot of us have, information out there that will tell you certain tools you're supposed to use for the trade or tools for the craft. It can vary from culture to culture. And honestly, the most traditional way of doing things is to simply use what is available to you. If you don't have access to all of these beautiful things that these wonderful occult shops have, you then have to use your creative mind to, use something that you can use for a similar purpose. Okay. There's a lot of people, for example, that would try to use components or things like crystals, stones, woods, anything like that. But the reason why those things are so prevalent within the craft is because those were things that were accessible to a certain kind of people that, found a certain meaning behind these sort of things that the spirits, I guess, also agreed upon, the energies as well, because those things are in part in close proximity to sites of magic or mana and energy. That they sort of, use the items at their disposal, their creative processes, their spirits and such, and then infuse them into a way to work for their, magical purposes. I think it's important to understand that, there's many of us out there, many people as well as practitioners that probably don't have the financial means to acquire all the tools for the trade, because it can be quite expensive considering the certain things that certain people out there convince you that you need, that you probably don't really. For example, a lot of people try to use things like crystals for their crafts. Crystals are, they're sort of, I call them sort of incarnate ores of energy. They don't all necessarily have energy, but they have perhaps the memories of certain things. There are certain crystals that have certain types of energies that you can actually visibly measure with physical instruments through scientific, means and purposes. And so that can be incredibly useful. Does that mean that the objects themselves are, this holy, sacred thing? Not to me. I don't personally care. I think crystals are rather beautiful and they can be used for the craft, but I don't use them for those purposes. I could perhaps use a stone or two for something because I can derive meaning from this certain thing as to, what it's been, usually used for certain practices. That's usually what they go by. I highly doubt anybody out there actually went out to give these rocks and stones an interview as to what it likes to do. It sort of borders on, I don't want to say the insane, but the unpractical, as I think is perhaps a better approach. But you don't necessarily have to use crystals because not everyone had them in their area or could afford them. So they used something else that perhaps had a similar meaning, or perhaps was similar in terms of energy or power, what it was able to do. It's like to say that a hammer is the only thing needed to build a house is, I believe, a gross misunderstanding of the craft of the house. When it comes to the craft in magic as well, or witchcraft, it's incredibly, what's the proper word? It's dumb to think that you need specific things or else your shit's not going to work. That's not the case. Now, you do have to do certain types of work. There's certain steps and components you can use and perhaps need to use. But if you have something else that can work just as well, then just use that. If it's in your backyard, all the more better. It's free and whatnot, So I think just to, sort of push through this sort of weird wall I'm trying to break through here, I think a proper example would be, for example, let's just start off with, things like grimoires or spell books and whatever. When you're starting out, you don't necessarily need a spell book at all. You can use anything. First and foremost, it is a journal. It is a set of notes that you write down to sort of keep things that you discovered, whether through, your own practice or through someone else's, that you will then use, in your experimentations, in your workings to achieve certain results that you desire. It is not in it's not incredibly imperative to have all of the things at your disposal that someone else has. Maybe in their area, they have access to things like hagstones, or they have access to things like maple or oak that are very powerful, components and spirits to use within the craft. But if you live in an area of the world that doesn't have those things, you have to use something else that can be just as valuable. Okay? That's sort of a small tangent. To get into the bread and butter of what I'm talking about, for example, there are certain tools, I think I'll probably name 3. You probably can see that I think can be quite useful to you. The 3 things we think about when we think about the craft are things like a wand, for example. We can even consider things like an athame, because it can work in a dual sense, but it can take a different meaning depending on what you're communing with. The grimoire, as I sort of went into it a little bit, the things like a cauldron, traditionally speaking, when it comes to the things like the craft. And if they use things like herbs or incense or things of nature. I'm sort of talking to you about the sort of substitutions that the mundane realm has to offer that you can use for magical means. Okay. For example, when it comes to the magic wand, it is something that's traditionally been hewn from, certain types of wood that have believed to have, certain magical properties about it. Things like maple, oak, even things like ash or whatever, depending on what you're working with, things like wormwood or whatever, just as an example. But the certain, types of things you can use that for are sort of symbolic only in what that wood has, or at least what you give to that wood. Otherwise, it's just a stick used for your workings. But there are mundane tools you can use for that as well. For example, chopsticks. You can get chopsticks even at a Chinese place or Asian place, an establishment. You can use that as a wand for yourself. What is it? It's just a chopstick. A wand is just a stick. It's just itself. The reason why it has meaning behind it is because it was given meaning. It was given purpose. You can absolutely dye the chopstick a certain color. You can wrap it up with wire. You can put little symbols and things, signals on it. I'll probably do a video about that at some point of me crafting something like this from perhaps a wooden thing. It becomes absolutely lovely. You're going to love it. As an example. And then you sort of imbue that object with a sort of type of energy, your own sort of, and you sort of give it meaning. You can burn the symbols in, you can write them in or whatever. And then you can use that as a type of wood, as a wand, I'm sorry. But it was a brilliant chopstick. You say, well, it's just a chopstick. Chopstick can be plastic or whatever, If you can find wood, all the more better. It has a very diluted connection to its original source, but it's there perhaps in some, very distant, remnants or some pieces, But even something plastic, you use at your disposal. And honestly, you probably don't even need to use a wand. That's something, to me, I see something a bit more ceremonial. That has something meaning behind it. A wand is an extension of the user. It sort of acts as an antenna, a sort of way for you to connect with something that's perhaps otherwise out of your reach, sort of like water diviners. that people use to seek out water. But honestly, you can just use your finger or your hand. You don't necessarily even need a wand for certain things. But some people, they find that this sort of thing that has a meaning, that has a certain potency about it, gives their things potency. And certain items can, in fact, have, magical powers within them, whether it was something that was placed upon them by a user before or something that was found in nature. I'll leave that to you. However, a counter to the wand, as I believe the first example I can say a mundane tool that is brilliant to use, even more so, would be a pen, or perhaps even a pencil when you consider it. Who hasn't used one for those purposes? But if you consider the power behind a pen or a pencil, it's something absolutely something astounding if you think about it. These mundane objects can have tremendous magical power and meaning if you use it within your craft because of what the things symbolize. The spirits know what it is, they know its use, and by you using it in a certain way within your practice, can have a lot more, I think, impact. When we consider the pencil, when we consider the pen, these are tools that are used to write, create things from nothing. These are creative tools. These are the tools of gods. If you think about it that way, this is a creative force tool. A pencil, like a pen, can create an image. It can create words. You can make sigils behind it. Things that the spirits use. You can create seals through pens and pen. You are creating an image from nothing, from the mind here. You are taking something digital and putting it into the physical realm. You're printing out a sheet of paper. That sort of thing has a sort of type of energy about it. When a spirit sort of gives you a vision or something in mind, and when you put it on paper, you are transferring something spiritual, something that's, otherwise invisible to the naked eye, to something physical, to something, tangible that, things around can recognize, whether it's the physical forces or the spiritual forces. And through our physical means and our physical interactions with this object, give some types of meanings. When you write certain words, the words themselves can evoke meaning to the person that reads it. It can be like a letter to your loved one that makes them cry, or something that you write to piss someone off because they pissed you off, or something that can perhaps make someone happy, like a love letter or something else. I'm not sure if I already mentioned that. These certain words come about because we write them out. It is sort of an inaudible way to achieve an effect. It is magic in the working. And so a pen or pencil is a brilliant tool to use for magical practice. A pen, for example, has the capability of, writing certain inks, and you can even imbue those inks with certain types of special substances. Not all inks are created equally, and not all inks are the same. But there are certain pens that you can use, so, you can even write with things like blood, things like plasma, things with fat, or whatever it is. It's an incredible tool to use for the craft, and it has been used in things like grimoires to write down the things we have. And by writing them down, you are doing a magical act because you are transferring something that is otherwise spiritual, unseen, to the physical realm where it is seen, where it is felt, where it is understood. And so when you use this sort of mundane tool, and I wish I had one here, just to show you, but you all pretty know what that is. That is something that I urge all of you to perhaps consider using in your craft. Instead of going to a store where they charge you perhaps $20 or $30 for a pretty cool looking wand or whatever, just use a pen or a pencil, imbue it with the purpose you have for it, understand its use, understand its reason, its purpose, and then learn how to incorporate that in your craft. By this pen, I bestow the power of creation, and through its use, I create things from nothing. Things like that. You can wrap something around it. You can put something on it. Upon this pen, I write the intention. I write the name of the pen. The pen now has an identity. It now has a power to stand in of itself. When you use this pen, or when you invoke the name of this pen, it invokes power because power can come from this pen or pencil. These things are mundane, but they can be used for incredibly elaborate and powerful magical purposes. Okay? So instead of getting a wand, get a chopstick, do something cool with it, get a pen, get a pencil, anything that you can use to sort of, get these images out, get these writings out, do all these sort of things. Use them. The pen and the pencil is something that is immeasurably misunderstood and not considered magical in the slightest, but consider the fact that we all take notes for the craft through pen or pencil. It is used to create these sigils and these markings and these symbols. Understand the power of the pen. The pen and the pencil has also been used in the past to summon armies, to summon things like diplomacy and talks. Wars have been fought through the power of a pen or a pencil. It is a mundane tool with incredible power and significance. But you have to understand and know how to use it properly within your craft. Spirits know what it is. Okay? The energies around understand its use. Before things like pens or pencils were around, they were carved into stone. And they would use the residue from the stone to create the images. And they usually use a blade of some kind, but the blade was used in connection with the stone to create this image, to create this thing of power. So I urge all of you to sort of consider that using a pen or pencil can be a brilliant and powerful magical tool to use for your disposal. Any book, as well, maybe for the second one, can be used for a grimoire. It doesn't have to be something you buy from Pinterest, something that you buy from Amazon, even though you can, because they have beautiful options at a pretty decent price. It can even be a sheet of paper. And if you don't even have a book, for example, and you can get a stack of papers, make your paper into your book, okay? For example, get a bunch of sheets, fold them together, okay? And the sheet that's on top, you write beautiful images on it. You can write names or words, give it meaning, significance. And that itself can be a very useful and potent grimoire. Is it fragile? Yes. But the power contained within is mighty. It's like a glass cannon. So you don't necessarily have to have a book. It is aesthetically pleasing. A lot of people like to have them. And the book cover itself acts as a barrier to protect whatever's inside. The cover of the book itself can have powerful magical significance. Just the solid part of a grimoire can be potent in your craft. A grimoire can be used to invoke certain types of powers, can be used to invoke some types of images, even within the mind. What you do to the grimoire, whether in the back, I'm sorry, it's upside down, I apologize, or even the front, can be powerful assets. Just the cover itself is a barrier. It is a guardian. It guards the pages within. It guards your secrets. Use the book itself as a guardian. Okay, the symbol, spirits know what it is. It is a book that's meant to contain wisdom, power within it. The book itself can have tremendous power and abilities. Okay, but only if you understand its use. You understand how to use these sort of things. Okay, a master is not good just because of the tools. A tool can be ineffective in the hands of a novice, but in the hands of a master, it can be quite devastating. Okay, if you give a sword to a novice, the best they can do is swing it around and maybe cut something. But in the hands of a master, you can fell dozens of foes with it. You can do elaborate tricks with it. You know, it's amazing when you see those sort of things, okay? When it comes to things like the staff, for example, it's just a stick, a walking stick. It could be a branch, same thing as a wand. Does it have inherent power? Not always. Most often, I'd argue not. However, the staff gets meaning because of what you put into it. You know, your dreams, your visions. I actually have one I'm in the works with. It's been on the back burners for the longest time because I've been working at the portals. I'm a busy mage. But these are important things to sort of understand the reason and significance, the strength behind it. Your phone, for example, can be a brilliant tool for the craft. It is something that's used to get information. You're able to observe things from far away. Although it is something physical, it is immensely powerful in the effects it is able to, put out there. Use your phone in your magical workings. Be conscientious. It does have its limits, If you bring certain phones around certain types of fires or very hot cauldrons, it can fry, especially when you're communing with spirits and such. But try to imbue your phone with magical properties. Do things to it where, it is more friendly to spirits. Use it as an extension of yourself in your craft, A phone can be a beautiful grimoire, can be a beautiful spellbook, but it can also be used to scry in the physical realm. You can also use it to scry in a mundane realm. The phone itself, when the screen's off, is a reflective surface. It's like a black mirror. You can utilize the phone as a black mirror if you wanted to. I personally haven't done it because I don't really have the need or the care to divine anything or to look for anything in the future. I have different ways sort of getting around that. I sort of ask instead of the spirits for the strength and for the wisdom to handle the situations as they come. Okay? Do I put things out there to sort of affect my future? Yes, I do. I do take some things, but do I necessarily look at it as a divinatory practice? Not really. But it's something that I can understand in retrospect can be used for those purposes. So using your things like your phone, for example, your phone can be a scrying mirror. Okay? It can be used for that. Your phone can even be used to reflect certain kinds of spell as well because it is a reflective surface. You can inscribe a sigil perhaps on the back part of your phone to act perhaps as a personal portable magical mirror for things like screening and stuff. You can also use it to store spells, incantations that you yourself write down. The phone is a plethora of things. It is a thing of dreams for many people of the past. I couldn't even conceive of something like a phone existing in the world that they are in the past, like how we have it in the future now. But it is something here that can be used for powerful magical purposes. You can use it to communicate with other people, other practitioners, even spirits, You can download certain apps on it, you can retrofit it, you can even communicate with other practitioners as well because they themselves are spirits. And you can, have them call over, like my last video, the most useful spirits. Yes, The phone is brilliant for that. So learn how to utilize your phone as even though it's this mundane tool, for magical purposes. Certain images on a phone can create lots of types of emotions, things like videos, things like even pictures themselves, photos, even things like sounds. Phones can record sounds, and you can even use those sounds for your craft, for your workings, even just for your personal healing, growth, or even to build and power. Never underestimate the power of the phone. Okay, it's been taken incredibly for granted. Understand its use, its purpose, and use it for your craft. Okay, use it for your magic. It's something that's absolutely beautiful, absolutely important. Okay, now let's see. I mean, I could sort of grab anything around. So let me see, for example, a candle. Brilliant. This candle here, everyone uses candles for the craft. It is a mundane tool. It's been used for the magic craft forever. But the only reason why is because people understood what a candle is. They were able to gain meaning from the candle. It is something that's able to create light. Okay. Now you do need something to sort of spark the flame, but a candle is what helps sustains it. In a way, you could say that a candle can act sort of as a type of earth, I believe, as a spirit in itself, sort of a vessel for a spirit. It is able to house the energy, the components needed to sustain the flame. The flame requires a candle to burn. It sort of needs it. The flame itself is a living thing. It's a type of energy. But this thing can house and can sustain energy. So it's a magical component when it comes to the energy manipulation aspect. The candle itself can also be used as a wand. You can use it as a wand. You can carve something into it. There's things like wax. And you can even use it as a sacrificial component because it bears a certain type of spirit or item in itself into the craft. Have I done it? No. But hey, try it out. But like I said, it's an example. Okay. You can carve things on it. You can even use it as an offering to certain types of spirits. You can wrap a name around it, use it for countless workings. It's a mundane item that has been used for magical purposes for centuries. And that's just one example. Okay? What else do we have here? A glove, for example. And I'm showing you all of my hands, okay? A glove, for example, can be a powerful magical component, depending on what you use it for. You can infuse your glove with power and with things like purpose. Winter gloves are brilliant because they are used to retain heat within the body. You can use them for fire workings as well, or for things like insulation, or even things like for protection. A glove is a brilliant thing used for protection because that's what it's always been used for. It protects the hands. It can adorn the hand as well. It can be used for glam. But it's a brilliant thing for protection because it protects the hands from a myriad of things. They make gloves for protecting the hand against piercing, things like slashing, things like marks. To protect the hand from electricity, things like energy, things like heat as well. A glove, you can put things on a glove. You can put jewels on a glove, which I think is what I think I might do for these. You can put jewels on them. You can adorn them. You can use it for magical practices. You can use it for ceremonial purposes. When you don the glove, you don the hand of the Creator. May the Creator, bring forth new life. May the energy from this glove through me be pushed into the flame, be pushed into the snow, whatever it is. Just as an example, it's something very loose, if you understand what I'm saying. But the glove is a very powerful item. When you throw a glove at the ground in front of a person, it was used as a gesture of a dueling, like we're going to fight now. Pick up the glove and we'll duke it out. You can use that for spirits as well. If you're going into a new space, throw a glove on the ground in a certain gesture to symbolize you're going to attack this place. It's a sort of preemptive strike to sort of prepare the area. You can use it for that way. You can wave the glove around. It was used as a way to dismiss things, to brush things aside, or to assault someone with it. Sort of like a blessed cloth, like certain religions use. The glove can be a powerful tool when you consider it. But these are sort of examples that I sort of came up with, sort of on the fly, because these mundane things that we have can be used for so many things, powerful things. Light sources, even things like instruments, but that's sort of obvious for those of us who, do our research. Holding things like candles, even things like a cloth, for example, things like a pillowcase. A pillow can be a powerful magical aspect. If you want to invoke senses of peace, of tranquility, of comfort, use a pillow. Use a cloth. A cloth can be used to, make things softer. It can be used to bind things, to tie things together. It can be used to blind the eyes of those that it wraps its head around. It can be used to cut off oxygen. It's extremely versatile, and it is something I urge all of you to consider. All of the mundane objects in your home, around you, in stores, if you don't have access to all the beautiful, elaborate, obvious magical things, consider the purpose that a mundane thing can have for the magical. Transform it. You have the power to do so. The object in itself can do nothing without you. You have meaning, you have purpose, you have power. Purpose isn't really important, it's subjective. But, like I said, Grimmy, for example, wasn't anything more at the time than a, special backed, spined book, blank, But I infused myself into Grimmy. I put images in Grimmy. I put symbols. I put writings. I put effort. I put this out in gold. I wrote things on it. I had a purpose and intention for Grimmy, and Grimmy came out, and I was a beautiful member of the podcast. But yeah. So that's an example. So when I am talking about things like the mundane. Use anything in the mundane. Everything in the mundane can be a potential magical tool. It can be something used for the craft as well, and the spirits know what it is. The spirits know what a tire is. Certain spirits know what a fucking car is. Many spirits, even from the past, ancient spirits know what a pen or pencil is based on the function, based on its use. A cup has so many, spiritual significances. Even things like magical. It's been used in things like ritual. Or even things like in religious practices for millennia, even things like a chair. Consider what a chair is. A chair is made to hold, something that has sentience, that has energy. A chair can bear weight. It can be used as an object of power to support power, to help, sustain what's being grounded. A chair, a throne can evoke so much emotion, can evoke so much power, so much imagination. Who sits upon the throne? Who sat in the throne? What the throne has on it, what's the throne made of. All of these things are mundane objects, but it is the purpose you place upon them and their use that makes them vital to magical practice. So without further more delay, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I hope all of you have sort of enjoyed this sort of eye-opening information that hopefully you guys, perhaps if you didn't know, now you do. I apologize if perhaps I've been gone, perhaps for a bit. I try to, take life, as easy as I can, as best as I can, while still delivering to you valuable content. I urge all of you to practice in safety, whether it is sex or magic. Keep up your singing, keep up your practices. If you have a little brother locked in a cage, make sure to leave him out once in a while because it can get rather gassy. And if you find yourself not sure of life, always remember that, like the things that brought you comfort are things that are real to you, that all of us, other people are out here as well, that there are other people that are suffering, there are other people that are also happy. Learn what it is you need and supply that need in any way you can. Of course, if it is ethical, and of course, if it's healthy to you as a person. Okay? I urge all of you to go out there, to make sure you are being kind to others, that you practice, so many different things, the theories behind it. There are certain close practices you probably shouldn't do. So, but, do your proper research, Understand that there are people that do care for you, like I, myself, or perhaps even your neighbors, our brothers and sisters, and our friends and families within, the Chimera family. I didn't forget about you in the school, the hybrids. I love you all very dearly. Remember that I care for you, that we care for you. And, remember that there are many things in life that, can get us down, But, there's certain things that keep you up. No matter how far low you sink, the earth beneath you is always there to keep you up and lift you up even higher. It is beautiful, okay? Make sure you are, carrying on in your duties and your learning, okay? Make sure that you are doing your proper research. And by proper research, I know it can be hard to understand what I mean. Other people don't explain. Just look up a bunch of different people that talk about one thing as an example. If all of them seem to agree about something and you test it out and it proves, pretty factual, legitimate, then that can be a valuable source. And since all of these sources sort of confirm this, you can use these as, further verification of what you're looking up, what you are doing is something that is, valid, for lack of a better term, okay? Be awesome. Be kind, rewind, reassess, and practice in excess. I'm ending it now. I already used it. Whatever. You know what it is. Kindness, okay? Don't be dicks. Goodbye.